Daniel Ricciardo found himself in a very undesirable situation with McLaren for 2 years, and things have got to the point of the Woking-based squad paying him $16 million so that he won't drive for them in 2023. That is something that can take a huge toll on a driver's self-confidence and his ability to drive. And recently, Ricciardo opened up about his excruciating tenure with McLaren and how that affects him today with Red Bull. Join us as we analyse Ricciardo's doomsday at McLaren, the recent dig he's taken towards the team, and whether or not he aims to make a return in 2024 as a full-time driver. Ricciardo joined McLaren in 2021. After what he did at Renault in terms of finally scoring podiums for the French team, it was heavily expected that he would continue his strong form with the Papaya Nation as well. After all, McLaren finished third in 2020 and the team had high expectations for the following season. So it was safe to say that the team and Ricciardo himself were very disappointed that the 2021 season turned out the way it did. Yes, the Honey Badger managed to win the first race for the team in a decade, with Norris following him home for a dominant 1-2 finish in Monza in 2021. But that itself wasn't enough for McLaren to further invest their trust in the 8-time race winner. And with the 2022 season being what it was a bit of a low blow to Ricciardo for the team to have a deal with Piastri in place all the way back in July, and not inform him that they are not going to proceed with him in 2023, the year in which Ricciardo had a valid contract with the team. One thing remained a mystery, and that's how Ricciardo wasn't able to perform at McLaren the way he was expected to. His driving style came into question first, and it was evident that Ricciardo does not enjoy an understeering car, one that the MCL36 was back at that time. But was that itself enough for his infrequent Q3 appearances and his battles for P14 and P15? His confidence was definitely at the lowest possible level, so what happened with Piastri replacing his older compatriot was pretty much expected to happen. Even though, if I'm being brutally honest, I don't see the blame on Ricciardo, and the fact that McLaren are performing the way they are in 2023 goes to show that the team is the one that's regressing in form, not the driver. Yes, Piastri is able to push Norris a bit more than Ricciardo, something that was admitted by the young Briton himself, but that is far from where the team aimed to be a couple of years ago. Recently, Ricciardo spoke about his tenure with McLaren, saying that although he and Zak Brown had a hard time agreeing with each other and understanding what needs to be done for the car to be more competitive, it was never the team's fault for why things ended the way they did. When talking about it, Ricciardo added, "I'll always take some responsibility or accountability. For many years I truly believed I was the best, and I am the best in the world. So whatever the situation, I'll be able to overcome it. And obviously with McLaren it was tough for me to do that. So yeah, I was aware that I'm not the perfect driver. I do have weaknesses, so I'll always hold something onto myself. Having a bit of a chance to remove myself from it, and now looking back over the last 2 years, I would have done things differently if I'd had that time again. Or maybe asked more questions or been a little more demanding. But you also live and learn, so I don't look back with regret. That was a situation and I got through it." It's definitely one of the saddest sights that a Formula 1 fan could have when looking at the qualifying or ending results, and you don't see Ricciardo's name up there. Although he had his fair share of struggles, Ricciardo did not deserve to be treated the way he was, and with Netflix trying to portray the situation between him and Norris in a much worse way than it actually was, the public's opinion about McLaren and Norris only went down from that point on. Nonetheless, the situation is what it is right now, and Ricciardo saying that he is the one to be partially blamed for the entire situation with McLaren is definitely what an experienced and great driver would do. After all, he has been in the sport for quite some time and he does know a thing or two about manners, even though he was treated the way he was by Zak Brown and the entire structure at McLaren. His axing brought some interesting talks among McLaren fans and F1 experts, saying that Zak Brown needs to return to IndyCar and leave the team to someone competitive, someone that can assemble anything close to what Ron Dennis brought to the legendary squad back in the day. The Aussie is now a reserve driver for Red Bull under a contract that he signed during the closing stages of the 2022 season, as he had and still has hopes that Perez would somehow not endure the pressure that's being mounted on him by the Verstappens. Ricciardo spoke about how he feels now that he is in that third driver role, one that is simply not meant for a driver of his caliber. But even though he doesn't let the public's opinion control his own mind, he added, "And now, getting back into the Red Bull, I felt as well I was certainly a little bit, my confidence was probably not where it used to be as well. Even I was a little bit timid getting into the simulator, trying to downplay how it was going to go. But as the day went on, the more comfortable I felt and the more, it just felt like I was kind of back at home in a car that I honestly felt comfortable with. So yeah, let's say everything felt it was pretty recharged after that first day." But this is by far what Ricciardo is aiming for in his career in the near future. And one thing is for sure, he is starting to feel the pain of not being a full-time driver in Formula 1. According to Sky F1's pundit Ted Kravitz, Ricciardo has started to show signs that he isn't happy that he isn't participating fully in the race weekends for the first time since 2010. The prominent commentator said that Ricciardo was looking like a sad figure on the pit wall, looking to be hating it, as Ted thought to himself, "You don't want to be there, Danny Ric. You don't want to be watching everybody doing what you used to love or still love doing." Furthermore, Kravitz went on to add that it would be much better for Ricciardo if he would be with the engineers, study the lap times. And even though Ricciardo himself confirmed that he missed the life of being a full-time Formula 1 driver, he is still happy as things currently stand. Yet his chances of making a return in 2024 are still a huge possibility, one that we would be very happy to see. But according to Ricciardo, he still stands by the same opinion. "I don't want to drive unless it's for a top, competitive team." At this point, I'm a bit afraid to point it out, but Ricciardo's form may not be suitable for a top-performing team. 2 bad years with McLaren and a year as a reserve driver can take their toll on how you drive a Formula 1 car, let alone one that's able to score podiums and wins. Not to take anything away from the Honey Badger, but it's just that he isn't the same as he used to be. And that's why he needs to be more realistic about his future endeavours. Gunter Steiner opened up on having Ricciardo on his team as a starting driver in 2024, saying, "It's a little bit early to speak about a driver change already for next year, so let's see how we are doing with these drivers, Magnussen and Hülkenberg. And for sure at some point maybe I speak to him, but I can't promise anything because if our 2 guys do a good job, I think I know where I stand with it. But for sure everybody is wanting to speak with Danny after a year off. Maybe he knows again what he wants to do, and he will be interesting for everybody in Formula 1. But at the moment I have a new driver this year, and he has only done 2 races, so I need to give him a little bit of a chance." With this in mind, it's evident that Ricciardo is still hurting from how he was treated at McLaren. But life goes on, and so does his ability to drive a Formula 1 car, which is why I think he needs to hop in the first seat available and keep himself sharp and in tune for whatever opportunity comes at him next. What do you think about Ricciardo's confession about McLaren's treatment? Do you think it was entirely the team's fault that the relationship ended as it did? Let us know in the comments below.